Go Big Red indeed. Season 3, Episode 7 of the No Block No Rock podcast. Coming to you once again from the Nebraska Brewing Company tap room, 108th and Harrison. Guys, just really quickly, let's talk about what we're drinking. It is the season, even though it's like 92. I'm drinking that Wick for Brains.
Yeah, basic bitch beer. Let's go.
Resist it. I'm the Wick for Brains man.
Did you have a pumpkin spice latte this morning?
Yes. Right before work. I had to go.
Oh, there you go. Yes. There you go.
Pumpkin cold brew. Mike, fuck you. What are you drinking?
I am drinking the Ale Storm, stirred up for the Storm Chasers. I am drinking the beer that is made for the AAA affiliate for the Royals.
Indeed.
Great beer here at the tap room, and it is canned everywhere, so go get it. It's really good.
Heck yeah.
Kyle, what you drinking?
So the usual Taco Veza. So we actually had a listener fly in from Florida.
Yeah.
Came into the tap room and specifically mentioned that he came here because of the podcast.
Mike, what's his name?
That's a shout out to Turner Hoffman. And we have done like questions. He's submitted things for us in the past, but the dude came all the way from Florida to watch us get our ass kicked by Oklahoma, and he made a stop in the tap room to try some of this beer, the Taco Vesa, and the Cow Tipper. And I heard that he got taken care of pretty good. So shout out Turner. Thanks for coming into the tap room. We have a awesome special guest. We teased it on Twitter. Chris Schmidt.
A man.
Guys, good to see you.
A man whose work ethic could never be questioned.
Never.
This guy. Now, on Twitter, I've seen a lot of Lance Leipold tweets, a lot of Kansas football, and people are saying Kansas football is a wagon. You've heard this? Like, they're a wagon.
Hop aboard?
Like, if they're a good team, they're a wagon.
Bandwagon.
I'm gonna call you a wagon. Chris Schmidt is a damn wagon.
Let's hop aboard.
You know what I mean?
We're on the Schmidt train tonight. Let's go.
You guys are very kind. I'm going to keep feeding you beer.
Yeah.
And we will not resist.
Chris, what are you drinking?
Just doing the old Pilsner.
The Pilsner.
That's the Connor special. That's the only thing he drinks.
He's filling in for Connor's seat right now, and he had to drink the Connor special.
That's right.
The Nebraska Pills.
Connor's stash. That's impressive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That porn stash.
We'll see him on Vivid a little bit later.
Okay, you take his stash. You give him your voice, because your voice is just prime.
Oh, my God.
Marble red.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Not now. Not ever. That's what it is.
All right, guys. Well, let's get a little bit into this Nebraska game, and I want to start this off with a little update from the NCAA. Due to safety precautions, the NCAA has changed games from 60 minutes to 5 minutes.
Yes.
Which means Nebraska won.
We're tied.
No, sweet.
Hey, I'll take whatever
First
that was.
First 5 minutes, the place felt and sounded like it's supposed to.
Man.
Yep. We did our job.
The scramble happened.
Yeah.
And then Dylan Gabriel goes off for 61 yards. His little scamper.
I thought he stepped out of bounds.
It's not even a run.
He might have around the 15
but they didn't even look at it. Like, that's why I was so concerned, because of that next touchdown they did look at, and I was like, that's obviously a touchdown. But then, like, I thought he stepped out, and then I looked at it later and it wasn't, but still, they didn't even take a look at it.
So Nebraska, they give up 580 total yards and 331 yards rushing. A significant chunk of that was the Dylan Gabriel scamper, and I'm not calling it a run. That was a scamper. Just like light foot.
He was expecting to go down to the 50.
Wasn't he, though?
Right.
And then he's like,
wait, there's no one here.
This is a little too easy. What is going on here? Like, he didn't want to be running anymore. He's like, someone going to hit me? Nope. Like you said, beautiful first drive. And you had that 3 and out and then the first drive. And that pass to Trey Palmer.
It's great. Great play action.
And it's like, could this be the day where Nebraska does something it seems like every other team can do? And that is beat a team that they're not supposed to. Can they upset somebody? But they just got straight outclassed the rest of the way. And they ended up losing 49-14.
Ugh. They could have been worse, too. They called the dogs off in that game.
Oh, it could have been 70.
49 unanswered, come from behind, vintage Oklahoma.
Right.
Yeah. That's the classic Nebraska versus Oklahoma we all know and love, right?
Jeez. I mean, so this game results in the defensive coordinator, Eric Chenander, being let go the next day. and Bill Busch takes over as the defensive coordinator. Now, Mike, you had mentioned that this guy, he's been around the block.
Yeah.
Especially as a D coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
He had been to Rutgers and Utah State for whatever it's worth.
Yeah, he has been a DC at 2 schools, which to me, I was like, okay, Bill Busch, why, out of all the guys on the defensive staff, why is Bill Busch the guy? And then I looked into it and it's like, oh, he actually has been a DC. So that's nice. That's reassuring to me a little bit. Yeah.
Even Mickey, LSU.
Yeah.
Nebraska, 2 Nebraska guys previously.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question is, Chris Schmidt, I didn't hear this. Maybe I missed it. Who is taking care of special teams now?
We will ask Mickey tomorrow about 11:30.
Indeed.
And maybe Mickey is taking care of special teams.
I hope.
Right? You got a lot of coaches that's their baby. That's their priority beyond Harbaugh and Baltimore, right? I mean, Barnett would coaches special teams. Saban coaches special teams. A lot of the high-level head guys, they know it's that important of a third phase to be locked into it. If they're paying attention to it, it's going to trickle down. And if it's emphasized, it'll be respected. And you know what? Mims did too much work getting outside from an early momentum jolt against OU, bringing it back to Oklahoma. So, no, I get it. And with Bushy, he's a guy that is similar to Mickey, super positive, isn't going to blow smoke, but he's going to coach up. And Bush is in that same cloth of pretty vintage recruiters.
Yep.
Learned under Solich, learned under Coach Darlington, very dogged, and will not be outworked. And he's brought in a lot of talent over his years, right? I mean, he got Burrow from Ohio State to LSU. He got Alex Smith for Urban at Utah. He got Prince to Lincoln. Okay. I mean, so Bush has got a lot of first rounders under his belt, and he'll approach it the right way. And we'll see. Chins was a good dude, always friendly. To me, it was the bright spot of the Frost era.
100%.
Right.
Yep.
So you were just out of bullets or out of experience anyway on the defensive side this year. That's tough to talk about because it is got to be frustrating for Nebraska fans clearly, but just where this program's at 4 years and 4 games into this Frost era. I know they're not here anymore, but you're supposed to have plenty of options ready to go, second and third team, if first team's not getting it done or first team's hurt.
And I loved your point. Our very first episode, we had brung up Frank Beamer.
Beamer ball, baby.
You know, he's the A1 special teams head coach guy where when the head coach emphasizes it, everybody else falls in line. And it's not just, it's the last portion of practice. You know, this is like our little cool down session. You know what I mean?
It's 5 minutes on the treadmill. Right?
Exactly. But yeah, and another thing, right? Marvin Mims, it's not like he returned anything for a touchdown or anything like that, but you watch the coverage team not get there, and I'm watching Marvin Mims go down the sideline with quite a bit of room, and I'm just like, Nebraska can't. I think the -1 yard that Trey Palmer got was the longest one of the year or something like that, and it's like, why can't Nebraska just have a moment where they do something like that?
Get Newcomb or Dewan or somebody to.
I'm not even asking for that.
You're not asking for an All-American.
Slightly better than Santino Panico.
Yeah,
slightly.
The Santino years. Yeah, better than 04. I don't have an answer for you other than your thoughts are echoed by many.
Yeah.
And you look at Mims, it's energy. They didn't need better field position, but they sure as hell got it.
Sure. Yep.
And it's a shorter field, and they were in rhythm anyway. It's just more juice for them. And they got pushed, they got poked, they responded. And OU, I can't figure out just where they looked incredible. That may be mostly because of Nebraska, or they may be that good. I don't know yet. I need a few more games for OU. I need to see them against K-State. I need to see them against Iowa State. I want to see them against Texas, clearly. And then back to the wagon discussion point, let's see where KU's at in the Trev Alberts Bowl.
Right.
As they host Iowa State in 2 weeks.
I love how you're going on that. That's great.
Well, it's funny you say that too. You know, Oklahoma, you know, they put on a clinic. And I want to ask you, do you think that Oklahoma wasn't showing a lot in their first 2 games and they kind of just unloaded on Nebraska? Or do you think it was more of a, hey, we're Oklahoma and you guys are a coachless Nebraska team.
They started out with that 3-3-5 deal. That's too many players, but you get my point, right?
Right.
Right. Yeah, I was right. There's 11. Carry the 1. But it felt like there was 13 on the field.
That's exactly what I said. Yep.
Between coming off the edge, they tweaked some things up. I think they looked at Nebraska and saw what they have or don't have, right? At tackle to protect. and then they adjusted, right? Nebraska's doing well with some quick throws. And then they hit him big time over the top to Palmer.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, OU got real serious, did some press coverage.
Yeah.
Started throwing people around.
In-game adjustments? Is that what you would call that, right?
Well, they said our dudes can beat up your dudes, and it worked.
Okay. It seemed like they kind of took the first drive off a little bit, and they're just
see what they want to do, right?
We're fine. You get your cute little touchdown, but there's still 58 minutes left to go in this game. Like, we just want to see kind of what you're going to do here. It just seemed like they let the dogs off at the end and at the beginning too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
And on your point with the defense, and this is kind of talking back to Eric Shenander and like we keep hearing this thing about like scheming and everything like that. You looked at Oklahoma's defense and you didn't know what was happening. There was just dudes like wandering around, like you had no idea what they were going to do, who was rushing, who wasn't. And then you looked at Nebraska's defense. You'd have 2 high safeties, and then what would Oklahoma do? They just run it up the middle because they knew there was nobody there to help. And there was like no hiding anything on Nebraska's defense. And it's just kind of incredible, like looking at the contrast between the two, because Oklahoma was just kind of everywhere. And like you said, it looked like they had 13 to 15 people on the field at all times. And yeah, it just.
Oklahoma could have done a Barry Switzer tribute and not thrown a pass. Switzer won a game, I think, in '85, not throwing a pass. The straight wishbone where they rocked Kansas or somebody. They could have done that all day on Saturday. Yeah. They wanted to keep running the football with those 2 backs, their athleticism, their stomp and start, their burst. Nebraska had no answer.
There was no mystery.
And OU's O-line was so good. Yep. And they've put out really good linemen the last 5-10 years, right? So you got a monster mountain to climb if you're Nebraska. At least you have a bit of time off to go back to work.
So we mentioned Shenander getting let go. You look at that staff, there are still a handful of Frost guys on that staff. Becton, Rude, Fisher, Dawson. So like what are they thinking right now? Like what's their goal right now?
Well, their goal is to get their position group better, first and foremost. Their goal is to find some depth they can use, that there's not a gap or drop off. Their goal may be to find a new starter, right? So those are all things you're working on this week and next. And you just got to be a professional and keep grinding. And maybe you show and prove enough to be retained by either Mickey or whoever's the new coach, or you at least got, okay, hey, I'm going to get a great recommendation and I'm going to go elsewhere.
Right.
Yeah.
They're all going to make a boatload of money, right? Because they went from Central Florida, what they were paying, to living high on the hog at Nebraska for 5-year contracts.
Yep.
This is the most money there. And Fisher's turned down jobs.
Yes.
He's Florida, Tennessee. They know what he can do. Becton's been really high level as well, in my opinion. Dawson was in the NFL and then came back. And I think a problem you have with the defensive line is, I don't know that Tuioti brought in much. I think he was pretty good at teaching and coaching. As far as recruiting, that was more a Dawson. And I think you've got a philosophy difference in body type from what Dawson wants or had recruited to what Tuioti had brought in. So I think that's something you're seeing right now. I mean, Robinson right now is in year 2 of starting, and he's a guy that doesn't have a running mate, right? There's no Daniels next to him. Right there, and I think Caleb Tanner is probably your best quick twitch guy. Garrett's your hard worker and talented, and he's going to be relentless. But you need some help. You've gone heavy in the portal with 3 high-level experienced defensive linemen, and Drew, of course, and Wynn, and then you have Mathis, right? And those guys need to be putting up better numbers than they are.
No kidding.
Quite obvious.
So going back to Bill Bush, what type of defense do you expect Bill Bush to execute? Is it going to be more 4-3, 3-4? What do you think is going to happen?
I think Bush, being an analyst last year, he knows the personnel, right? And it's a matter of what type of personnel he thinks can give him the best shot. And I think you might see more of a shift to a 4-3.
Yep.
But I think they're going to be more – they're going to ask kids to do what they're capable of. And you have the whole 1 gap versus 2 gap. So I think it's important for Bush to know what their strength can be. And that may be a question mark right now.
Yeah.
Because they're not stopping anybody.
Right. And I think so something that we've kind of talked about a little bit off air, a little bit on air is just like Mickey Joseph, Donnie Raiola, with the stuff that he was facing prior to the season starting, it kind of just gets this feel that's like you're destined to fail.
Yeah.
Because it's
Shit
like
sandwich.
Yeah, because like now you're trying to make these like foundational changes in the middle of the season right before Big Ten play. And to this point, you're giving up this amount of yards. You can't stop the run. You can't stop the pass. Like nothing is working. And now you've got coaching changes. So guys are hurting from that. And then now you're trying to make foundational changes as far as your scheming goes. It's just like something that you see all over Twitter. It's like people just have a lot of hope that, you know, Mickey coming in with a new voice, it kind of changes some things, or Bill Bush taking over the defense, maybe that changes some things. But it's like, man, we're in the middle of the season. Like everything they've been learning for the last, you know, the whole off season, now we're having to change everything and we're getting ready to go into Big Ten play. Like it's crazy.
I don't know that they're going to change scheme per se, or what they'll change what they ask him to do. But I think that the difference will be, fellas, is I think Bush and Mickey, with how they practice, will get them maybe more prepared.
Yeah, tackling.
I mean, just simple stuff that we all think it's taken for granted, but clearly Nebraska's had a pro-style practice set up where some guys are better at it than others, but there's a lot of refinement that needs to go on so you're good at doing it in Big Ten play.
Right.
And to be honest, Nebraska's not been good enough this year. You know, last year they had guys that have been in the program 4, 5, 6 years, right? You had JoJo to make up for mistakes. You had Stilly that had been in the program, you know, grown man. And
Dismuke and Deontay.
Yeah, and whatever their shortcomings may be in coverage, they knew where the hell to be 3 steps ahead so they could play faster. They don't have that right now.
So I'm glad you brought up Donnie Raiola. And one of the main reasons why I picked them to go 5-7 at the beginning of the year, which is that is looking optimistic even, was because of the offensive line. I just could not get over it. And it had nothing to do with Donnie Raiola. Nothing.
No, because you have to block.
Yeah. Well, you got Nori that was out at the beginning of the year, and you got Prohaska coming off an injury, and just a makeshift line, in my opinion.
You're seeing number 54 and number 69.
We don't have to say the names. We're good.
69.
Well,
nice.
that's like
not
that's
nice.
Like
not nice.
Yeah.
The first 69 not nice in history.
And no block around.
You're seeing 54 see a guy cross his face, and he sees him, but he pretends he doesn't see him, and kind of
it goes outside. It goes into the ghost block where he's like waiting for something to come at him.
So I'm just saying, my point with Donnie Raiola, you see 54 do that, and that is not coaching, in my opinion. That's just straight up mentality and not wanting to touch someone. Whereas when you're an offensive lineman, that's literally your job, is to get your hands on somebody.
So the job is this, to take 54 out and put maybe a Hunter Anthony in or some other option.
Yeah.
I think Nebraska's, quite frankly, their problem is, this is not good, but this is the best you got.
Yeah.
I think that's your issue.
Well,
again, back to 4 years plus
of
recruiting and developing, and let's go grab another option where you have 18 linemen either recruited or portal, and you got your 3 top 150 commits, right? You've got Corcoran, you've got Ben Hart, right? And then Teddy's hurt with the shoulder. I mean, those are 3 top 150 guys at Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa.
Yeah.
Bam. I mean, guys got letters and phone calls. They're good enough to play. But now you've got a guy like Turner that's also, to his defense, is making a third position switch in 3 years.
Right.
Right tackle, left guard, back to left tackle. And he's probably not 100%.
Right.
Yeah. And when I bring up 50, I'm just picking on 54 because it just looks like Dude, how am I supposed to know if you're good if you don't give a shit? That's what it seems like to me. And I know, Chris, I'm not supposed to cuss.
No, you're fine. You gotta ask him. You gotta ask, does he love playing ball? Or is he just good at it because of his size?
Well, he's big.
He's a wrestler.
Yeah.
But his arms, too, aren't.
He's little.
Yeah, he's too big to play guard, but he should probably be at guard.
T-Rex.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But, I bumped into his family at Minnesota last year, and they're good folks. I mean, no one wants this if you're a Nebraska fan or a player.
Right.
But there needs to be some relief.
Well, and
guys aren't getting it done because you're going out there, the offense is suffering, and you got to watch last year because you were replaced. They went back to you because you had a better fall camp.
Yeah.
Okay?
Supposedly.
And get them coached up or make the decision to eject and groom them to be a backup.
Well, and that's been
You're at that point right now.
That's been the problem with the Frost era, though, is retention and development. And he's a perfect example. He was recruited by a lot of good schools, and he came to Nebraska. And
a lot of schools known for their offensive lines.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good 4-star recruit coming out. And
Player of the year in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, big guy, can move people.
Remind me, did Fleck offer him?
Yeah.
So.
Did he? Okay.
Yep.
Because that's always like the red flag,
He flew
right?
private helicopter to one of his games to watch him play.
And now, can I ask you, if he was in a Minnesota uniform, would he be doing what he's doing?
No.
Right now?
He would either be playing or be playing better.
Right.
Yes.
They've done well on their lines.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at is the Frost era has been the lack of retention and development. And he's a perfect example of a guy that's like, we know what your potential could be, but he's never been coached up to his potential.
Well, and part of it's on him, too, to unleash the fury.
Yeah.
Right.
Be an angry,
The want.
Like,
be
want
an
to hit
angry
some-
guy.
I don't care if you suck. At least show that you want to hit somebody or that you want to knock someone on their ass.
I think part of him, too, is I think he is at the point where, man, this isn't going well again. So it's probably a confidence issue.
Yeah.
It's not give a shit issue.
Right.
Fair enough.
I think it's a confidence issue.
And that's the last thing I want to do is question someone's effort and all that, because that's the last thing that you should question. And it better be like, you better be walking in order for someone to question
some of
your
those
effort.
guys that you face, I mean, think of the PTSD last year off the edge. I mean, how many first, second, third, fourth rounders
No kidding.
consecutively to the edge's face, and you're giving up, every 40% of all dropbacks. Adrian's getting, his jaw rearranged.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally.
And that's indicative too of like when you don't have the depth and you don't have like the older guys on the team, you have you put those freshmen out there and they just get eaten alive, and then the confidence just goes way down. It's like, well, maybe I'm not cut out for this. And it's
guys got asked to play probably before they're ready.
Especially Teddy. Teddy is a guy that honestly, it's probably a good thing for him to get just a couple months off of football now. Just get healthy again and start from scratch, either with a new staff or whatever's going to happen after this year. It's probably a good thing for him, because I think he's probably one of the guys that it's like, we need to build around this guy. He's a Nebraska guy. He's going to be a guy that's going to buy into whoever is going to be the next head coach.
Yeah. So bye week coming up. You can't lose and you can't win. But what would you consider a win during this bye week? Now, and I just want to preface this question with, ever since Bo left, there's always been this talk of weeding out the misfits. If you don't give a shit, just leave. Like, has it come to that point where you look a dude in the eye and say, do you care about this program? If not, you need to go. I just feel like that's always been a consistent talking point, but it never happens.
Well, that's a double-edged sword, because A, what if you're wrong and it's you as a coach that needs to get him better?
True.
Or B, what if that does happen and you're also on display as a coach in a program where you're going to go into someone else's living room and there's some past history. Oh, you just cut this guy loose.
Mm-hmm.
Why should I send my son to play for you if there's an eject point? It's your job as coach to get him better or find a spot for him. And I think that's the way you got to approach it. It's such a different world now with recruiting and NIL and portal. And I feel bad for the coaches. I know they make huge sums of money, but you've got to re-recruit your team, it feels like, every week, because you got a number of dudes that have been told since AAU ball how awesome they are just to keep them happy and at peace so they don't leave your ass.
Right.
Well, and today...
That would drive me nuts. That would drive me absolutely nuts.
Being pampered their whole lives, basically.
Today you had Charlie McBride on your show, and he talked about, and Charlie was saying, they don't, like, some of these transfers, they don't know anything about Nebraska.
No.
Like, they why would they? You know, they came here because of their talents.
Investment.
Yeah. And so it's like, you try to say, like, do you give a shit? I mean, the honest answer probably is no. Like, I'm here.
Into the pros.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, this is a business decision for me. So, no, I don't give a shit about the Nebraska tradition or culture or anything. I'm here on a business opportunity for me to advance my career.
Fair enough. And that's where the other guys in the locker room got to rub off on them.
Right.
The Nebraska kids.
Yeah.
Get them to care.
Okay. We are back from our break. We just refilled. We got our same drinks as before. Got a Wick for Brains. Got a Taco Veza. Mike got his, I don't remember. What'd you get?
Hailstorm?
Hailstorm. And then Mr. Schmidt.
The Mexican beer.
Yeah, Taco Veza.
Taco Veza.
Really good.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a Corona without the skunk. Like, you know, like the skunky
we
taste
love the
of most
skunk,
Mexican
don't we?
beers.
Not to get sued, but
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
We love the skunk. Okay, so I'm trying to tread lightly here, fellas. I'm trying to tread lightly.
thank you, Walter.
Right. Thank you.
He loves that.
Yeah. So over this past week, we'll just say over this past week, even though things have been circulating for a long time, we will be NBNR TMZ, and we will talk about the hot mic. We will talk about former players calling into radio shows and saying things about the Frost regime. And I think the main point that we can take away is a lot of guys feel that he was not ready for the job. And not just that, it was almost actively sabotaging, just like with some of the things that he did, some of the things that he didn't do. Some guys feel betrayed, and they got a Scott Frost that they didn't expect to get. The last thing that I would ever want to do is say I told you so, because we all want it to work. We've said it billions of times. It's just disappointing because he's the guy that said over and over, there is nobody else that wants to make this work more than I do. And when you hear former players, and not just former players, but people actively in the department contradict that, it's very sad the way that it all turned out. And I don't know if you guys just want to touch more on that, but that's where I'm going to leave it.
Well, and I think there was parts of the job you love and parts of the job you tolerate, and then there's parts of the job you hate. Mm-hmm. And without supervision, it's real easy to put off the stuff you hate doing.
Get caught up in the stuff that's fun.
Without supervision, it's real easy to just go try and be a rock star.
You get the status. You're a money cult hero.
Yeah. And
it goes to your head.
It just comes down to maturity, supervision, and just being a grown-up.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. And you've got a lot of former guys that have chimed in. They wanted it to work because of what he meant to the program. And it's a guy that was torn. I think he felt obligated to come back. Mm-hmm. And if push comes to shove, if he had to do over again, he'd probably have stayed in Central Florida and taken a different job just because it was, the monster that is Nebraska football. You got to keep feeding it. And the fear of failure probably crept in as well. I mean, there seems to be a lot of insecurity, and I think there seems to be, I'm going to talk big, and we all know folks that kind of shoot their mouth off and talk loud and big. And more times than not, someone that's got to talk it is really overcompensating.
Right.
And that to me is it. And I think Tom Chattel's column nailed it. Nailed it. You mentioned how Nebraska fans and former players feel that have spoken out. I mean, the main reason you went and got the guy is because he knows how it was done. He knows how the sausage was made and what made it taste so great. Well, and Chattel paralleled it back to Steve Peterson. One of your air quote own was brought back to do it the right way, who knew how to do it the right way because they were part of it and witnessed it.
Mm-hmm.
They thought they knew better.
Right.
And that's the ego and the arrogance too, that folks, all right, we'll put up with that and it's got to work because in Scott you trust. Well, it was mismanaged, it was calculated,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll figure out what he wants to do, whether that's latch on at pro football or be an OC, but clearly oversight and supervision is something that he had zero interest in.
And it seemed like when Trev came in, it was like Trev probably stepped in there and was like, wow, like what is going on here? And you mentioned Scott, when before he took the job.
I hardly know the guy.
Yeah.
I have people that I know that know the guy really well, and you just, the whole smoke and fire and rumor and innuendo, and I don't go into that TMZ wise because there's other stuff to talk about. And there's juicy and drama and all of that. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. And he's gone. Trev was classy about it, super classy about it. And then there's some people that clearly are frustrated with how he walked all over and treated this product.
Yeah. Right. I will say,
in their opinion.
Yeah. I will say that I feel like, and this is going to sound crazy right now, but I feel like the whole Frost tenure is ultimately going to be a good thing for Nebraska football. And a few reasons that I have here on my list.
Oh, boy.
It debunks the Nebraska guy theory. Frost is the ultimate Nebraska guy. You need a Nebraska guy, Nebraska connections. Didn't work. You need someone that knows Tom Osborne, has a 90s connection. No, that didn't work either.
Knows how the sausage was made.
We need a splash hire.
You got to be a guy that's willing to cook it with the recipe.
Yeah.
And that's why so many of us have been, got to get a Nebraska guy who gets how to win Nebraska's way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's walk-ons development, being the toughest, most hard-nosed football team, right? And that's going to win you games. You will outlast your opponent.
Yeah. Yep. And another thing is, now that you've seen the Scott Frost era play out, now you know the philosophies, really, like on-field philosophies. Who cares about the off-field? The on-field philosophies that do not work. So now Trev can go out, and he's got plenty of time. Yeah. He can pinpoint a guy, and he doesn't need to be the anti-Frost, right? Because that's what you did with Riley, because he's the anti-Bo. You don't need to go extreme, but now you have an idea, and you can narrow down and parse through who is going to be a fit here. And we can get in coaching situation, coaching names.
Yeah.
Or go.
Yeah. So right before we get into that, I do want to say, to your point, Trev walked in and was like, "What's going on?" Presumably. And you have to imagine Mickey, based off of his comments the last couple weeks, you have to imagine he probably did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
He comes from LSU, comes to Nebraska, and then realizes that we're not tackling in practice, or
for 4
whatever.
years.
Yeah, whatever the case might be there. And he had to have just walked in and been like,
and it's not a secret that after Scott was let go, Trev says, "I need a grinder. I need a guy that doesn't have hobbies. This needs to be his life." Because Nebraska football is different. If you let up for even a minute, it can go awry. And I think we saw that. But let's get into names, okay? The ultimate headache. Urban Meyer. Where I stand is you make the call, you make him say no. Sounds like he probably did say no. Let's just go around. Urban Meyer's, anything changed?
Mike? I still don't think I don't know why you get the assumption that he might have said no, because If you listen to the way he broadcasted and talked about Nebraska during that big noon kickoff,
want urban.
he loved that.
Oh my God!
Not to mention he was at Old Natured Factory in Omaha, enjoying himself, But
smelling his fingers.
but
I know he had a great steak with Reggie Bush.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Thursday night.
Yeah. So the meeting, let's start here.
Okay.
The meeting happened, correct?
I mean, didn't it, Chris?
Chris,
you were in on the meeting. How did it go?
Yeah, how did it go?
Urban rode the elevator up and stared through everyone's soul.
Good.
Like burned Andy Pettit style, right?
Yep.
Staring through you, grunted a few times. No, here's the thing. Urban would take this job because of Urban's ego.
Yep.
And I am the god of football. He respects the hell out of Osborne and patterned his physical inverted veer, his zone read based off of Osborne's option. So he has admiration for T.O.
Yeah.
Great. So what we don't know is he still the same Urban flameout? 5 and done Ohio State or 3 or whatever it was. Same with Florida, because he didn't have a quarterback the year he went 8 and 5. Mm-hmm. They had to kick Cam Newton off campus. He was supposed to succeed Tebow. He had both those guys.
That'll help.
And then Utah was good, but Utah wasn't quite in the Pac-12. They were in the Mountain West. Okay?
Yep.
And then he came from the MAC. He was hired originally by Lou Holtz in Notre Dame, kept on by Bob Davie. So dude can coach, put a staff together. He's super detailed and demanding. So he's not fun to play for, but he gets you the league. Okay. So all those things can be, you can lay that out. He's 58. And is he going to have somebody on his staff that he can hand off to where you don't miss a beat? Right. And Nebraska's at a hell of a lot different spot than walking into Florida with a cupboard full, walking into Ohio State with a cupboard full.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
He's built a little bit and probably did what's similar to what Frost did, is looked at a spot. Central Florida wasn't that far removed from being good. They had a psycho at coach in O'Leary that the team quit on. Yep. Scott came in and made them feel better, and then they were great. They had way too much talent for the league they're in.
Yeah.
Okay. Similar to what Urban probably scouted out in the MAC, and similar to what he saw in Utah with all the JUCOs and Bill Bush as his right-hand guy as a recruiter, bringing him Alex Smith. So it could totally work with Urban, but it's a short-term potential deal based on his history.
Yeah.
Is that something that you would be okay with? Like if you can guarantee 9 plus wins or whatever.
But 9 isn't good enough for Urban. 9's like, I better get that year 1.
Right.
Okay? So he can get you back to the mountaintop, but then it's what's going to come up either off the field or air quote health related that leaves you, okay, that was fun. How do you sustain?
Yeah.
Okay. It's been a rental car.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to do the lease or buy.
Well, and you hope that he would find a Ryan Day, right?
Does he have a Ryan Day waiting on staff?
Yeah.
I like listen, let's see what Mickey does first and foremost. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because Mickey's been gutsy enough to take this mess on.
This mess.
And then let's see how Lance does. Because he's a builder. So's Campbell. You need someone to build versus inherit. It's always nice to inherit.
Yeah.
You feel better about yourself if you're the one who built the business.
Ask Mickey Joseph about inheriting. And let him tell you.
He's loving it right now, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what, Chris? Let's go through your top three. I know you got a top 3. You got a 1, 2, 3. Who's your third?
My number 1 is O'Brien.
Okay.
Just because you want to talk about like worst case scenario.
Penn State.
Grandpa rapist in the shower.
Yeah. Right. We talked about that.
And you don't miss on all 15 of your scholarships that play in the league.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So he gets the Big Ten. He's old school, takes no guff. He's tough.
He's a red ass.
Big time. He hates people.
Yeah.
But he loves football. So you have O'Brien, then you have Leopold, and he's done it. pretty quick at KU, and I'm not crowding him. There's still a lot of season left, but they hadn't won 3 games in the last 8 years.
Right.
Okay? I mean, he's money. And to your Nebraska guy point, he shadowed under Frank, and he shadowed under Darlington and Charles. I mean, he knows Nebraska. And then he went to UNO, and then he's built his own business, so to speak.
People might write off the whole Whitewater, but
That's
he built
huge.
a dynasty there.
They won 8 titles.
Right.
6,
Insane.
Excuse me. It was nuts.
Insane.
So give me Lance. Then there's Campbell. I don't think Fickle would leave Cincinnati because he's going to the Big 12, and he's got whatever he wants post Ohio State there. So I think the next job he takes is if Day goes to the NFL eventually. What you do have that's nice is the SEC and the Big Ten are the new NFL jobs.
Yep.
Everybody's going to try and get in those 2 leagues because they're secure and they're printing money. And you're going to have eventually some coaches probably jump from the SEC or the NFL, the SEC and the Big Ten to the NFL. But right now, those are the 2 leagues everybody wants to be coaching in.
Nebraska will be at least a top 30 job, at least. And, then you factor in the resources and et cetera. You're talking about top 20.
Yeah.
With NIL, you can, and I think the in-state talent's really on an uptick.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
So you have talent here. You have more talent than you've probably had here for a while. So it's clearly not Florida, Texas, California, Louisiana, but it's not void.
Right.
And you're going to need some in-state kids to be part of those grinders that beat the hell out of your 5 stars or 4 stars or 3 stars during practice. Back to that old formula.
So Bill O'Brien's your number 1, huh?
Bill, Lance, and
Matt Campbell. Okay. Now Bill O'Brien, it's a little concerning to me just because I don't know what his recruiting prowess is like. He was at Penn State for 2 years.
Saquon Barkley, good for you?
Well, look, he's all right.
Godwin, okay.
If he brought those guys in. But is he going to be able to do it at Nebraska where it's a little bit harder? That's the only thing I'm a little concerned about.
Sure.
NIL, baby.
I hear you.
Hey, guys are going to make those money there. So.
Why does it seem like the Matt Campbell name has cooled off a little bit? It just seems like even though they dominated Ohio, for whatever that's worth.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like that name has just really cooled off a lot.
Well, I think you've got some momentum with Lance because he's won at West Virginia, and then they beat the hell out of Houston. Yeah. And what's cool about them is they're super physical on the lines. And KU in year 2 should not go down to Houston where Holgerson's at and put up 50 and do so leaving them bleeding. I mean, they were physical.
Yeah.
Right.
The quarterback's fun. And there's some option elements to it.
Yes.
It was fun to watch, too. Like that game was. Well, I had that on my TV. I was like, this is good.
Did we all watch him upset Texas last year?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How fun was that?
Right. Of course we did.
Yes.
Horns down.
Yeah, but there's no way in hell that should have happened.
Yeah.
Ever.
So, Mike, do you want to throw anyone out besides those guys?
There's nobody that I want to throw out. I guess now that we have Chris sitting next to us and you're talking about these the power 2 is what I call it.
Yeah.
And then anybody else, and I'm going to throw the Big 12 in there, is in the left out conference, in my opinion. So one name that I want your opinion on is Dave Aranda. Is he kind of in that Fickle territory where you think like he probably isn't going to leave, or what's your opinion on Aranda?
I think he's pretty high level. I think you have Matt Rule as well, depending on how things go in Carolina. With Aranda, I mean, Baylor's private, Baylor's rich, oil and Dr. Pepper money.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they'll keep him.
Yeah.
And it's not like the Big 12 can't compete for a playoff spot.
You just got to win it.
Well, you got to win it,
really
but he has, or he's been close to it, right?
Yeah.
So it's him and Oklahoma State and probably Cincinnati, right? Mm-hmm. And that's your pecking order once Oklahoma and Texas leave.
Yeah. Listen, a name that I don't care.
I like him. I just don't think. Why would you leave Texas?
Yeah, or
recruiting.
Recruiting is just in your backyard.
Not only that, but I mean the personality just doesn't match what you're going to be facing in Nebraska.
True.
Like, he is not the press guy, the media guy.
Don't
he is
care.
not.
Trev can pick that up. Just go get a guy that wins. And,
yeah, I don't care what they do behind the mic.
And
right.
You're not getting smoked.
Chris Schmidt. I need validation.
Oh my
Because
gosh.
These guys hate.
Here we go.
These guys hate my pick.
Here we go.
I shouldn't say my pick because Wance Weipold, I'm replacing the L's with W's, is probably my number one right now. Jeff Monken from Army.
Okay, you love option football?
I do, but here's the thing. People are going to say, oh, option. It's old school. You're not going to win that way. I don't think
you can. Can you just find the quarterback?
Okay. So you're kind of making my argument for me. I feel like when you watch Army, it's very old school. It's very basic. But you watch the Lance Leipold offense, and it would be revamped in that way, where if you get a quarterback like that, holy. Jeff Monken, my number 2.Maybe my number 1. I just need validation from you because these fucks,
No.
I hate them. Listen, when I hear Trev talk about culture building, people building, I see Jeff Monken and I go, that's the guy that Trev is talking about.
Right, but...
Don't say but. No, don't.
Thank you.
No, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
I hate you. You're not coming back.
That's fine. I'll just pour another beer. There are better options.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it.
Wance Weipold.
There's better options.
Thank you.
And maybe maybe the best option is down there right now.
That's fair.
Right.
Touche.
Hey, I want you to defend me, Chris.
Hey, he pissed on your Cheerios though.
No, he didn't. Yeah, we love that.
We love that.
And maybe he can do it, but
he can do it.
I don't know. And Trev's, to your point, I think Trev's son went to Army, didn't he?
I mean, he's definitely a military.
No, he went to Army, West Point. There was a graduation,
Chris?
so it's not like
Chris
Monken and Trev haven't probably crossed paths.
Chris.
But
it's happening, isn't it?
But they may go Calhoun at Air Force before they go Army.
Can I throw another name at you, Chris?
Sure.
What is your opinion on Jim Leonard at Wisconsin?
Yeah.
I think you're at the point right now where you got to hire a proven head coach.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So
that's
you're in the
exactly
same
what I
boat as
said.
us.
He's money, and he may be the heir apparent at Wisconsin.
He's like 39 years old. I mean, yeah. I mean, he wherever he goes, he could be there for a very long time. But I think he's like guaranteed the job at Wisconsin.
He may stick and stay.
Yeah.
Chris isn't that old, but Leonard's young enough. Barry loves him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
they're good.
If there's anything we know about Wisconsin, they'll keep it in the family. You know, if they're able to do that, they will try to as much as they can.
For sure.
Yeah. And I mean, like, with that, I'm not really looking forward to seeing somebody learn how to be a head coach, especially
we
with
just
this
did
mess.
that.
And I mean, as much as I'd love to see like Mickey succeed and stuff, it's just like he's learning as well. He's learning right now, and he's learning how to rebuild this and figure out exactly what's going on and how to fix it. Same thing with Leonard. It would just be him coming into Lincoln and trying to figure out the best way to go about things. And I'm not really interested in watching somebody else try to rebuild for their first time.
I just want a defensive guy. In my opinion, I don't know if he's out there. I don't know if he exists right now in all the names that have been thrown out there. But like, I want a guy who has a defensive mind first. Does not care about the Big Ten adjusting for your offense kind of bullshit. I want a guy that focuses and emphasizes defense.
Your perfect combo exists right now in Oklahoma.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
With their head coach Venables. And
I love him. I love Venables. Why?
Libby at OC. I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
OU's always been high flying, but 2 patty cake under Lincoln. You bring in Venables, and they got some dudes playing ball now.
That's PB&J right there. You got peanut butter and jelly just freaking going at it.
Yeah, Oklahoma's scary because they're always known as the non-defensive, high-flying team, but now they got Venables.
How good their teams were.
Right.
Without a defense.
Where they had to score 50.
Right.
We saw it last Saturday. I just saw it in person, actually. Imagine how good that offense would be if they had a defense, and then their defense made our offense
it's perfect.
non-existent.
It's perfect. And now they're going to the SEC. They got that defensive guy at the helm. I think they'll be okay.
Venables is...
They have the number 1 defensive line, our old buddy Dean Blevins, Mr. Sooner football, to name drop like a scumbag. Sorry, but he's like, we've got the number 1 defensive lineman, a soft commit. Number 1 defensive lineman in the country committing to OU over Bama.
Wow.
That says something, right?
That might do it. Okay. Well, hey, guys. Are we beginning to sign off here?
Yeah,
Mike's giving me the signal. He's doing this, whatever this means.
5 minutes. 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm throwing things. Throwing beer. Good beer.
Yeah, it is. It's really good beer. 100th and Harrison, by the way. Nebraska Brewing Company. Well, guys, I don't have anything else to talk about.
I don't really. It's a bye week.
It's a bye
Hey,
week.
you know what? Cheers to winning the bye week.
It's not like we went over an hour talk about nothing,
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Chris Schmidt, listen to his show, Hail Varsity Radio, Spotify. I mean, this guy's
iTunes, Google Play, YouTube.
Yeah,
everywhere.
thank you.
590, AM 590 now.
Yeah.
I mean, once they came into the Omaha area on radio, I mean, that is my go-to in the afternoons. I'm just telling you that now.
Yeah. And I am a podcast regular.
Yeah.
I listen religiously. I work from home, so I just sit there with my, my Apple AirPods, and I just sit there and listen to Chris and Elijah.
You guys are too
and,
kind, man.
Yeah.
Chris, all those 5-star reviews that you've gotten, it's him he's recreating
Yeah,
new
I just
accounts.
make new accounts.
5-star.
Kyle 1, Kyle 2, Kyle 3.
And because of the Monken take, I'm down to 1 star now. Right?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start clicking.
Let's go.
I was trying to help you, dude. I was trying to help you, and you fucked up. All right, well, Chris, again, thank you. Appreciate your time.
You guys are awesome. We'll do this again.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see you out at the Hail Varsity
Cheers.
Club too sometime.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we'll definitely have Chris Gorman host us at Hail Varsity Club.
Gorman, the tab is on you.
Yeah,
That's right.
100%.